Hey, what's up guys, just Boost here and welcome back to another One Piece card game video. Today I'm gonna be showing you what is, in my opinion, probably the coolest deck to come out of the new set OP04. Sadly, it's not the most competitive deck, but it does have like a decent matchup into a lot of the mid-rangey decks. And it also does okay into Law and Whitebeard actually. However, it doesn't have such a good time against Zoro or Katakuri, which makes it a little bit hard to play in a competitive way. Anyway, the deck I am talking about is Issho, or you might as well call it like Law if the red part of Law was black. But you're gonna be seeing all about that when we're diving into the actual deck list. I will be showing you guys my deck list that I've been working on for a couple of weeks now actually, because I do really like this deck. I think it's extremely fun to play. I highly recommend you also try it out, even though it might not be the best. And I'll also show you like some cards that you could consider playing or building the deck around, which I have opted not to for this video, but I might actually like go back into those options as well later. But yeah, let's hop into the profile. Alright, let's check out the deck list. The first card we have here is the leader, of course, which is Issho, and since it's not the most popular leader ever printed, I'm gonna go over the effect real quick. So it says if you have a done under it on your turn, you can give all of your opponent's characters -1 cost, so it's a little bit like a blanket smoker. And then end of your turn for 1 done, you can set up to one of your characters with a cost of 5 or less as active, so it doesn't have to be like a navy card or something like that. It can just be any 5 cost or less, which is very nice. It is a dual color leader, green-black, which means you have 4 life, which is a little bit what makes this deck very difficult to pilot, because oftentimes you're gonna establish control in the late game because you're playing like a bunch of blockers and destruction cards. However, then something like Diablo Jumbo or the structure deck Luffy just comes and ruins your day. So that's definitely something you have to try to play around and always keep at 1 life if you're playing against red decks. But yeah, that's the leader. Then, as you'll see, the deck is basically divided into 2 archetypes or sets of cards, whatever you want to call them, which are the Navy and the Supernova cards, and I'm gonna go over them each, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the cool combinations that you can do because of these combination of cards. So first we have 4 brand new. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. Basically all the locals cards are very important because Law is basically like the heart and soul of this deck, and you know, being able to establish a brand new, add a card, and then later in the game bounce it back to hand to deck out for usually Kobe is very, very strong. So yeah, it's almost like a hard mulligan for this card. Like, not really, but that's definitely something you could consider. Then just 2k counters, which we're playing quite a lot of, 13 actually, and 8 of them are Navy cards, which are 4 Shigi and 4 Tsuru. They do have some nice synergy with Law as well, because you can play both of them out, reduce something, then take it back to hand and play out Kobe, for example, to get rid of something. Especially with Tsuru, that's one of the combos you do, where you go like Tsuru, reduce something by 2, then play Law, bounce it back to hand, and play out the Kobe, and pop a 5 cost or 6 cost if you have a done under Issho as well, which is very, very nice. But yeah, not much to say about those really. They are just the best 2k counters that Black has to offer. You could also play, what's his face, Virgo, but there's no real synergy with this deck, so yeah. Then this is basically the most important card in the deck, which is Kobe, and your goal is pretty much to keep recycling this card as much as possible. His effect also has some pretty nice synergy with him, because you can just put 1 down under him, swing for 5, and then restand him at the end of your turn, so it doesn't get run over, which is definitely very nice and does come up quite often. But yeah, this and Law are like the most important cards in the deck pretty much. And then I'm also playing some Admirals, of course the full playset of Borsalino. Yeah, this card just shines extra hard in this deck, because you can just swing with him for 5 and then restand him with Issho's effect to also keep him as a blocker, which is absolutely insane. You do that a lot, and you know, just being a 6k blocker on your opponent's turn, that's indestructible, very, very strong. And then I'm playing double Kuzan, which is the one that draws 1 on play and then gives -4 when attacking. It's just... the reduction is definitely important, but you don't want to be playing too many like high drop characters. I know 4 is not necessarily the high drop, but in this deck it kinda is. And it's mostly like to round out the numbers of cards you want to play in the early turns. Because you'll see I'm also playing some other reduction events, which I'm going to show later. But I definitely think... I started playing out 4 of this, but that's definitely way too much. I definitely think 2 is enough. You could even potentially play 0 of this, and you could probably get away with that as well. And then, sorry for the poor man Sakazuki here, but... yeah, it's just... I was also playing a list without this for a little while, because Kobe will usually do most of the cleanup, but against specifically decks like Katakuri, Queen, or even like Yellow Purple Crocodile, even though that isn't really like a meta deck. It's just really nice to have something that blows up actual big bodies, and it's also just nice against LoL to be able to just play this out and pop one of their 5 costs without having to go through all the combos to get rid of those that you would usually have to do. Because you don't always have all the combo pieces. That's also why this card is nice, by the way, because it, it lets you draw, so that gets you a little bit deeper to the combo. And then the last 2 Navy characters are double Issho. Kind of like, sometimes I want to play 3 of this, sometimes 2. I even played 0 for a little while. But it's definitely, just the hand rip effect is very nice against the slower matchups. And the blanket -3 is also very important to, hit your Kobe thresholds. So, yeah, that's it for the Navy characters. Moving on to the Supernova part of the deck. Of course, we are playing for Bunny. So yeah, take a guess what part of the deck I like more based on rarities, right? But yeah, this card is just insane. Just being able to loop this with the Law tag route for Kobe. Very good. Also, just being able to play or use the effect search and then recenter with Issho early game on, like, for example, your 3-turn turn is pretty crazy, and it against decks that are not like Rebecca or Red will usually ensure her staying on the field for another turn to get you another search. But yeah, I don't really think everybody's familiar with the Law deck, and this basically serves the same purpose in this deck. Then I already mentioned it, but this is where all like the crazy plays of the deck come from, which is the Law. Him being a blocker that you can restand with Issho, once again, also absolutely insane. Yeah, there's just so many combos you can do with this and Kobe. Or just, tagging out one of your searches into something like Killer, which I'm also playing, is very strong. Then I'm also on a full playset of X-Drake, and this card actually doubles as both a Supernova and a Navy card, which is very nice, because it means you will actually be able to add it with brand new, which is very cool. And it's just basically, it allows you to KO a 4 cost or less without discarding a card from the hand, which is definitely very nice sometimes. And the full playset seems a lot, but it's just to basically get up both the Navy and the Supernova numbers. And honestly, it's also just has a 1k counter, so it's actually fine to just be able to discard once in a while. Actually, you do that a lot, but then having one in hand to punish your opponent for extending into certain plays also very nice. And then I already talked about them a little bit, but just a full playset of Killer. Yeah, you just need a lot of blockers in this deck, because you always want to get into the late game with like at least 1 life remaining, and if you don't have the blockers early game, then that's just very rough. And then rounding out the Supernova package is just 4 Apu. Yeah, this is just a 2k counter that's searchable with Bunny, not much to say there. Sometimes I even just play this on my 2-turn turn to set up for like a low play to bounce it back to hand to bring out something else on the 6-turn turn. Which, I know it kind of sounds bad, and obviously against something like Red you wouldn't do that, but in some matchups it's definitely very nice to do that, to just, have a little bit of setup if you're not seeing your searchers. Oh, and then the last character card I play is 1 Issho. It's just the 13th 2k counter. I'm considering playing 2 of this, because this card can definitely steal you games, specifically against black decks like Rebecca or just other Navy focused decks. But I'm at the moment at the 4-4 Tsuru Tashigi split, just because those are searchable and Issho is not, but might consider cutting Tashigi for another Issho, or maybe 2 Tashigi for 2 other Issho. just because, you know, the unplay effect of this actually comes up, and once again, just because you play Law, you can go like play this, rest something Law, and then, you know, more shenanigans, which is very, very nice. And then the last cards in the deck are event cards. I'm on, this might seem a little weird, but double Ice Age and 1 Great Eruption. Great Eruption is like a better Tsuru if you don't have access to Law, basically, because, you know, it replaces itself from the hand because you draw 1 card and then give the -2. And I'm playing this mostly to get rid of like really big bodies like 10 drop Big Mom, for example, or just 9 drops, stuff like that. And 9 drop, you know, you can out because this gives -5, and then it also gets the -1 from this, -6, so Kobe will be able to pop it. And honestly, obviously, Kuzan is like a better card because it's a character, it's, you know, pressures your opponent, it gives you a draw. However, yeah, that card just gets removed all the time, and that's why I think Ice Age is actually pretty strong in the current format in a deck like this. But yeah, that's the list I am playing right now. Then just to close out the video, I want to show 2 cards you could definitely consider, which is this X-Drake, which I know seems like an auto-include because it says if it's rested with a Dawn, your Supernova or Navy type leaders and characters gain plus 1000 power, so pretty much the entire deck will get the boost from this. However, it's just a little bit too slow, and if your opponent is pressuring you, you never really have time to play this out, and you always want to play out like one of your blockers or Law or Killer or whatever, so you won't really be able to play this out. So sadly, I felt this card didn't really have a spot in this deck. If the performance was slower, it would be strong for sure, but for now it's not really a good pick in my opinion. And then this card is very interesting because it's a Navy card, so it's searchable with brand new, and it can play out your X-Drake or your Law. But once again, it's just a little bit too slow in my opinion, and it protects them as well, which is nice. But yeah, it's just slow. Usually on your A-Dawn turn you want to be doing other stuff and not just like playing this out and then playing a Law and not get that much value from it. But I definitely think it's interesting to build a deck around this and maybe also play something like Hawkins or something like that. But yeah, for now they were not included in the deck. So yeah, that's the list. Alright guys, that was the deck list. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this deck, what you think about it. Do you have a list or any cards I'm not playing that you might want to play? I will be trying to record some gameplay of this deck as well, because I will be taking it to locals this weekend and hopefully not go 0-4. That would be would be nice. And then maybe I'll record some gameplay there to upload on the channel. But yeah, let me know what deck you want to see next. If you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.